Good morning, everyone. I'm Claire Worthington, and I'm part of the Village Web Company, but I'm also part of the Goodness Collective. So you get like a two for the price of one because I'm part of both things. So for everyone who's here today, welcome to the session. And the idea of the session is we've called it Using Digital to Help You Take Your Next Steps, which is probably the vaguest title of any workshop that anyone has ever conducted. In terms of what next steps means, in terms of what digital means. So we're going to try and kind of go through a few of those ideas to think about sort of how digital and how doing things online can help you. Because essentially everybody can benefit from using digital. And sometimes people are being forced into doing things online not because they want to, because they have to. But we're at the stage now where it's really quite hard to ignore digital skills and to just say no. So we want to try and give you like a few tips or a few sort of pointers. I'm probably going to go through a lot of stuff today. If there are things in particular that anybody who's live on the call is really interested in covering, if you can pop that in the chat. And then if we don't cover it during today's session, because we've only got sort of like a limited amount of time, it might be we can run something else that sort of doesn't take part today, but it might also be that what's in there might help. So I'm going to start sharing my screen and we'll take it from there. Okay, so hopefully you can see a big purple thing with a cartoon version of me. So I'm going to ask Ethan to give me a thumbs up if that's legit. Okay. Right, so welcome to How Digital Can Help You Take Your Next Steps. I'm going to shrink the extra windows down. So, hi, I'm Claire. I help people do things online. I help people by delivering training. I help people by building websites. I help people in lots of different ways. But really what it boils down to is people using the internet to do things. And that's primarily what I help people do. So, as I said in the intro, kind of digital is a really vague term, and people who work in digital, we all know what we mean. Not everybody else does. And I don't think we all realize that. We kept banding this term about and nobody has a clue what we mean. So essentially, when we talk about digital, what we really mean is being able to do things usually with a computer. And I put that in inverted commas because what we used to mean by the word computer and what we mean now, really not the same thing. So it might be a computer that you use, it might be a phone, it might be a tablet, it might be an Xbox. So when we talk about people being able to do things online, that really just means being able to access the internet to complete tasks. And those tasks can be really, really varied. The fact that there are people here currently on a Zoom call, you're completing an online task. You're using the internet to be able to take part in today's session. So it might be joining a Zoom for either to speak to friends and family, or it might be joining a Zoom to have a doctor's appointment or to do an online parents' evening. But it might also be dealing with the council's website so that you can order a new wheelie bin or to book an appointment. There are lots and lots of different things that people can do online. And when we talk about being online, we just mean being on the internet and doing things, being whatever the tasks are that you're trying to achieve, whatever it is that you're trying to do. So when we think computers, this is what computer used to mean. It used to involve a keyboard, used to involve a screen, and that big grey box that used to sit at the side of your desk and a mouse. That's what using a computer used to mean. These days, we have lots and lots of different things. So devices is just a general word to include anything at all that you might be using. So it might be an iPhone or a Samsung or an Android phone. It might be an iPad or another tablet, could be a laptop, but it could also be an Xbox or a PlayStation. There are lots and lots of different things. If it connects to the internet, then you're actually being online when you do things. So any equipment at all that you can use to get onto the internet. Now, I'm quite old school. I still remember having a TV where you had to actually get up and press the buttons, and we only actually had the 3 channels. My children, do not understand that at all as a concept. They find it hilarious. My grandchildren, it would take so long to explain it to them, it's not even worth doing. When we talk about digital devices, it's any equipment that you can use to get onto the internet. And since we're now at the stage where watches, games consoles, you name it, you can connect it. So there's just a couple of little examples. So when we talk about digital skills, being able to do things with whatever type of computer, in inverted commas, you're using. So you can do lots and lots of different things online. And there is this idea that being on your phone all day is something that's really frivolous and it's not important work. I actually run a lot of my business using my phone. So there's lots and lots of different things that people can use the internet to do. So if we think about people who've maybe moved from, maybe have friends and families in other countries, in the old days, having a relative sort of emigrate to Australia was a massive deal. These days, I probably talk as much to one of my friends who lives in Australia now as I did when he lived in Newton Heath, which is only a few miles up the road. The days of looking for jobs, kind of getting the newspaper and then circling things with a pen, these days, all of that is done online. We can shop online, we can study online, but also if you're responsible for looking after people, so maybe you've got children that you need to look after, maybe you have parents or other people that you care for, actually the internet can help you in a lot of ways of that. And also things like banking. So I'm based in Romley, and when I first moved here, we had about 5 different high street banks. We don't have any now. So if you can't sort of deal with it in the post office over the counter, you're probably going to have to do it online, or you've literally got to go somewhere else so you can go to an actual branch. Now, this session is called sort of using digital for your next steps, which again, very, very vague. So in terms of what your next steps might be, that's different for every single person. Now, we run a program as part of the Goodness Collective called The Wave of Change that helps women who aren't in work at the moment establish what their next steps might be. So for some of our ladies, it is very much they want to get jobs, and that's specifically what they want to do. For other people, they want to get back into education, so about studying. Again, supporting family or other people that rely on you. Some of our ladies really want to start their own business. And also we have a lot of people who just want to support their local community. They want to do a little bit more in either the area that they live in or with other groups or other communities that they're part of. And when it comes to what your next steps are, that's a very personal thing. So your next steps we could all be completely different. But no matter what it is that you're choosing to move on to, you can definitely use digital to help you with that. And we're almost at the point where it's almost impossible to not use digital in some way for everything that you're doing. So the end result of that is that having digital skills is a lot more important than it used to be. It used to be almost optional whether you could do it. So for certain jobs, you might have needed to know how to use a computer, but for a lot of others, you didn't need to. You didn't have to do online banking. You didn't have to order things online. You didn't have to do parents' evening via Zoom. But I feel like the last couple of years have fast forwarded these massive changes because we've needed to do things in a different way because we couldn't all travel and be in the room like we could before. So the increase in digital skills it's definitely been coming along for a while, but I feel the last couple of years have really pressed fast forward on that. Now, using digital, can help you with absolutely anything, or it can help you with absolutely everything. So for people like me, if I'm awake, I'm probably on the internet in some way, shape or form. But no matter what it is that you're using it for, you still need to be comfortable and you need to know what to do. And that's really where people like me come in. So in terms of what your next steps might be and how digital can help, if you're looking to find a job these days, everything is very different. So back in the 80s, it would very much have been getting the newspaper, getting a pen out, circling the ones that you were interested in, and then either sending a letter or ringing. These days, if you're looking for work, you're probably going to have to do an online search at some point. If you've not written a CV since the 80s, well, doing that might be very different, because it might have been that you actually typed it, or it might be that it was handwritten. These days, they're going to expect it to generally be typed and to be sort of uploaded to some portal. So where you see all the adverts for Indeed and all of the other sort of big job portals, they all rely on some level of digital skills. Being able to send an email so that you can send in an application. It might have to include a covering letter as well as a copy of your CV. If you've not had to use email before, or if you only use it occasionally, or if you set up your email address when you were 14 and it's something embarrassing, all of these things, being able to go and set up a new email address, it still involves some kind of digital skills. And depending on what kind of work it is that you're doing, and depending on what kind of work it is that you've done before, you might need to develop some new skills. You might want to learn how to do spreadsheets. So things like using Microsoft Excel might be really useful. Whereas in the old days, it would have been maybe only a smaller percentage of people, whereas it's quite common now. Even if you do something that's quite physical, quite hands-on, there's usually some element of digital, even if it's only reporting or sending the information of what you've done. And then at the bottom, I've written LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is an online network that's really designed about people's work lives. So rather than Facebook, where you might be talking to your friends and family, LinkedIn is where you might tell people about your experience, and you might develop professional sort of networks rather than sort of just speaking to people that you already know. Now, studying has changed a lot over time. So I went to uni at Manchester Met as a mature student. Now, when I first went back, you could type your initials if you wanted to. You could actually put your assignments in and you could handwrite them. That if you're going back to uni or you're going to college now, you're going to find that being able to send in handwritten assignments, that's not really going to be an option. You're going to have to type up those assignments. So you need to understand some level of word processing package, either Microsoft Word or something similar. And also, when it comes to actually uploading your work, I used to print mine out and then put a little sheet on the front and put it in an actual post box on campus. These days, you actually have to upload it you go into the university's website and you upload your files. So instead of handwriting things and putting them in a box, you're going to have to type them. You're going to have to save what you've typed, and then you're going to have to upload it. So again, we're back with the digital skills, even if what you're doing isn't really digital based. Having a copy of your work stored in this mysterious cloud that everyone talks about. And although the cloud is a very sort of grandiose term and it's a little bit vague, essentially what it means is storing it somewhere on somebody else's computer, for want of a better phrase. But the idea of sort of turning up to uni, finding, oh no, I've forgotten my work. Actually, if you've saved it on like an online platform, something like Dropbox or something similar, well, it doesn't matter where you go. As long as you can get access to the internet, you can go and find your work. So using things like Dropbox, being able to access sort of online lectures, all of those things are all a part of studying now, and that's very, very typical. Researching things, sorry, there's some kind of emergency going through the village, there's a lot of sirens going. Being able to research and find information, the days of actually going to the library, they've not gone. You can still do that. But even things like being able to sort of find out which books are available, being able to reserve those books, those are all digital skills now. Because library catalogues, not just for universities, but also for our local libraries, you can go online and you can reserve a book, you can find out which other books your favourite author has written. All of those things can all be done online. And also, if you are doing like university level studying, what you're going to find is that you need to keep track of all of these different journals you found, all of the books, all of the authors. there's ways that you can store all your references. So the days of having to handwrite them all and then type them up and add them at the back, it's a lot quicker these days because we've got these extra tools that we can use to do that with. Now, for people who are interested in starting their own business, it is now next to impossible to do this without some level of digital skills. It's not that it can't be done, but it's certainly getting a lot harder. And for some of us, it makes things a lot easier. So if you think about researching your idea, finding out who else might do the things that you do, being able to find new suppliers if you're a retail business, all of these things, being able to do that online makes that a lot quicker and easier. But also when you look at things like doing your business administration, doing that on your laptop can make things a lot more straightforward. But then from the point of view of things that you have to do, when you start your own business and you have to start filing your annual tax returns, or if you're registered for VAT and you have to send your VAT return back, they now have to be done online. So even if you can run the rest of your business and you can do it all without using the internet, yeah, HMRC are going to insist that when you deal with them that you do that online. It's just not open to discussion. So making VAT digital came in this year, it's compulsory. If you want to start your own business and you want to stay on the right-hand side of the tax man, you're going to have to do that online. But the good news is that there is a lot of help from people like HMRC. They have their own YouTube channel, they have webinars, they have websites with information on there. They've made it compulsory, but they are trying to help by giving you all of these extra resources. If you've got your own business, having your own website is a really good way of sort of promoting your business and also being in control of things. Now, obviously, I build websites for a living, so I would think websites are a good idea. But when you think about how you look for other businesses, how you find different products and services, how you might choose a restaurant, quite often we reach for our phones and we start Googling, and it's people's online presences, it's people's websites and social media accounts that come back in the results. Social media is playing a massive part in small businesses these days. And platforms like Facebook, platforms like Instagram, who is actually part of Facebook, are a really, really massive part of how you do what you do. So being comfortable with social media, and it's not necessarily all the duck-faced selfies that a lot of people think it is. It's quite difficult these days if you're going to have your nails done or have your hair done and get out of the salon without somebody wanting to take a picture of their work, because that's the standard part of running a small business these days. Being able to use the internet and using massive platforms like Facebook to be able to share your work, to find new customers, to promote your business, all of those things make a massive difference. But if you're starting a new business and you're not familiar with using sort of online platforms, or even if you had a website, you wouldn't know what to do with it, these are the things that there's definitely people out there who can help you with. And then underneath, I've written marketing materials. So Ethan's going to be doing a session later today as part of today's International Women's Day about using Canva. Now, Canva is a brilliant sort of online platform that you can use where you can generate sort of artwork for adding to social media, or you could design a poster that you literally print out and put in the window of your shop if you've got one. But being able to get online, sign up for Canva and use that to make these marketing materials, we're still going back to needing digital skills to do that. Now, we've written about supporting your community. Now, organisations like the Goodness Collective, they're a social enterprise. Community really matters. It's not just, oh yeah, supporting the community, like it's not a big deal. Social enterprises like the Goodness Collective and like my business, the Village Web Company, supporting our community is a core part of what we do. And a lot of people really do want to help, but being able to be online helps you find out what's happening locally. Just because it's happening around the corner doesn't mean you're automatically going to know about it. But there's ways where you could use things like Facebook groups and you can join them and find out what's happening. or if things like Eventbrite. So those of you who used Eventbrite to sign on to today's event, that's another way where people can actually say, right, we're having this event or we're doing this thing. Now, community means different things to different people. Sometimes it's people who live in your local area. Sometimes it might be people that maybe you go to church with. It might be people that you see at the mosque. Your community is whatever community means to you. And at different times, we will find different causes that matter to us and that we care about. So supporting your community might be helping a very specific cause that you care about. But again, you can often use digital as a way of helping with that. Now, later on today, Beth is doing a session about social action. So I'm not going to try and elaborate too much on that. But if you care about things like the environment and wanting to do something about it, well, actually, that's another way that you support your community, or it might be something else that really matters to you. For me, my social action is around fighting digital exclusion. It's helping people do things online. I can't stop people being sort of forced onto the internet to do things, but I can at least help them learn how to do the right thing when they get there, how to stay safe, how to actually access the different platforms. And also other ways that you can support your community or be supported is ways of staying connected to other people and also being able to offer support to other people. Now, I've put helping those that rely on you because that's different for different people. So it might be if you've got children, it might be if you've got older parents that you need to support, or you might be a carer for either a friend or a family member or some other loved one. Helping people that rely on you, digital can really help with that. So if you've got people with maybe a specific medical condition, it might be actually we can go on the internet and we can find extra information. If you're interested in finding out more about something, you can use things like the NHS's website, which includes a lot of information. But also there are ways where you can find online communities who can support you with the specific condition that you're dealing with, or with the impacts that being a carer might be having on you. There are lots and lots of different ways to not only help the people that you're supporting, but also for you to get support yourselves. And even little things like being able to make appointments online, those are all different things. But again, they all rely on having some digital skills. So I guess really the big question is for you to sort of spend a minute and think about what things you'd like to learn, because I've flown through a lot of different things there. So if people have specific things that they'd like to learn, if you want to pop them in the chat, and then I'm going to tell you about a couple of different platforms that might help you learn some of the things, but pop a few things in the chat so we can see what things might be useful for you. Now, I'm going to talk to you about a couple of different online platforms, and platforms is just one of those words that people who work in tech use. Essentially, they're big websites, but they're places where you can develop your digital skills, places that you can sign up for on a website and you can learn how to do things that will help you get better at things. Now, everybody learns in different ways and people have their own preferences for what suits them and how they prefer to learn. So I'm going to show you a couple of ones that we generally use, but if you're interested in either of the platforms that I'm about to show you, but you'd like a little bit of help to get started, then that's something that I can definitely help you with. So the first online platform I'm going to talk to you about is called Learn My Way. Now, Learn My Way is a website that you can use to help you learn new digital skills. Now, even if you've never used a computer or a tablet or a smartphone before, somebody can help you get onto Learn My Way. Now, Learn My Way was created by an organisation called the Good Things Foundation, and they're designed, their whole purpose is about helping fight digital exclusion. Because what we're finding is that people who can get on the internet and who can do things online are actually, there's a really big gap because you'll find that there's a lot of people who don't have access to the internet, or they have access to the internet, but they don't have the skills to make the most of it. And unfortunately, what happens in those instances is there's often a really big gap between people who've got broadband at home and a computer and have the digital skills, and people where maybe they don't have those three things. So the Good Things Foundation set up an online centres network, and they have actual human beings, so people like me, who can help you. So if you're in Stockport, all of the Stockport libraries are all registered as being online centres. So if you need somebody to help you get online, and all of the Stockport libraries actually have computers in them, if you've got a computer but you don't know what to do, you're not really any further on. So the online centres network has groups of people, and we're all over the country, who can actually help you get online and help you do different things. So it's made up of lots of little short courses. So if you already know how to use a computer and you've been using one for years, well, actually, there's no point in you going through that this is how we use a keyboard. It doesn't benefit you. But for somebody who might be having to use a keyboard for the very first time, well, actually, not making assumptions that you know anything already really does make a difference. So if you go to learnmyway.com, this is roughly what it looks like. And you have the option to sign in or to register. So once you've registered for Learn My Way, you can go back on there as many times as you like. You don't have to do it at a certain time. You can go on it, not touch it for 2 years, go back, sign back in, pick up where you left off. The idea of Learn My Way is that it's very, very flexible. You don't have to do things in order. You don't have to do every single thing. You can just dip in and out, and it's a pick and mix. So you can use whatever things are useful to you. So you can see here, for people who are maybe just getting started of using a digital device, actually, being able to use a keyboard, to use a mouse, or to understand a touch screen, or just use a computer in general, that's actually quite a big step. Now, the registration process for Learn My Way is quite straightforward. You just fill in a couple of details on an online form. But if you've never used a computer before, or you've never used a tablet or any other digital device, well, actually expecting you to get onto a website and then sort of sign up is actually quite a big ask. So for some of the courses, you do need to have registered, but for getting started, you definitely don't. So you'll see at the side of here where it says that there's no need to register with a thumbs up, because if the registration process is getting online and filling in a form, and you've never filled in a form online before, it's a big stretch. But the thing with the online centres network and how we work with Learn My Way is that you can have an actual human who can sit with you and help you get through these things. So you get that little bit of flexibility so that you can learn whichever way suits you. So these are just a few examples of some of the things that are on there. So using your computer or device, the basics of being online, and most importantly, being online safely. Getting onto the internet, but not knowing the basics of how to stay safe is a recipe for disaster. It includes things like what we call office programs, so things like Microsoft Word, or it might be that you're using Google Docs. They're both word processing programs. But if you work for a big company, so somebody like Royal Mail or the NHS, well, they're already going to be using Microsoft products. But it will give you that basic background to how to do things like spreadsheets. So using Excel or Google Sheets, being able to do the basics of putting a presentation together. So this presentation that you're looking at now, this was created using Microsoft PowerPoint. Also, Google has an alternative version of that, but they're not the only two. They're the two that people have heard of, but also there are a lot of other ones. So the idea of Learn My Way is it will teach you the basics that will help you use any of the software. It's not specific to one particular company. It includes additional internet skills, so things like how to search for the things that you're looking for online, and say safety is a very important thing. If you know that actually the reason I want to develop my digital skills is because I want to find a job online, there's a section of things specifically about that, about improving your health, about how you can use the NHS websites. And if you're interested in online banking or being able to manage your money, Learn My Way has areas specifically for that. And then we've got about public services. So things like if you need to do something on the council's website. So Stockport Council, there are some services where you have to do those things online. You can't really order things over the phone. Some departments and for some things you can, for other things you can't. But the idea of dealing with a public service like a council or something similar like the DWP, if you needed to claim universal credit, all of those things, Learn My Way can help you get started with those. Now, the second one that I'm going to talk to you about is one called the IDEA Award. Now, the IDEA Award is, you kind of need to be able to get around a computer. So if you're brand new to using a computer or a laptop or a tablet, then probably go on Learn My Way first. The IDEA Award is another website you can go to or another online platform, to use those terms, where you can learn some extra things about things on the internet. But also the good thing about the IDEA Award is you can actually get a qualification that you can add to your CV. So the website for that is idea.org.uk, and it has mini courses in lots of subjects. So they always have like a slight digital edge to it. And the idea of how the IDEA Award works is that you collect an assortment of badges. So again, we've got bite-sized courses, but they're very specific things. So if you've heard of Bitcoin, but you've not got a clue what it is, well, IDEA has a little mini course that will tell you a little bit about what Bitcoin is. It tells you a little bit about what growth hacking is. It will tell you a little bit about lots of different things. But the idea is that you go through the bite-sized courses, and when you get to the end of the course, you get a badge. And then when you get enough badges across the various sections, then you can actually get yourself a qualification that you can add to a CV. So we have the IDEA Award, it has the bronze level, and then it has the silver level. And at some point in the future, they're going to be unveiling the gold level. But in the same way that those of you who might be familiar with the Duke of Edinburgh Award, which was a little bit more about being outward bound and a bit of orienteering and doing things physically, this is like a Duke of Edinburgh style thing, but it's designed around digital things. But again, you do activities, you collect the badges, and then you can add that as an actual qualification to your CV. But also one thing that IDEA will let you do is you can print off a record of achievement, and that will list the various things that you've learned. So some of them you will find might fit with what you want to do. So for example, if you're looking to start your own business, well, if you could do badges in the entrepreneur section, well, you're going to learn a few things that you're going to find useful for that. If on the other hand, you're really interested in making things and doing things online, it might be that maker badges are interested. So to qualify to get your bronze award, you are going to have to do the right number of badges in each section. So it might be actually you only need a few from the entrepreneur badge, but if you wanted to do all of them, that's absolutely fine. But you have to have the right mix for the qualification, but you're very welcome to do every single badge on the platform or just do the bare minimum to get the qualification. Different people do it for different things. With our Wave of Change programme, we always introduce all of our ladies to Learn My Way, and we introduce them to the IDEA Award. And some of them absolutely love it. Some of them kind of not so much, but they'll do it. Some people are like, that is absolutely not for me. It really just depends on how you like to learn and what's useful for you. But we found a lot of people have kind of give it a try and found that they've been able to learn little bits about things that helps them feel a little bit more confident about doing things on the internet. So that's just another IDEA one. So if you're interested in the IDEA Award, it's idea.org.uk. So if you're interested in developing your digital skills, as well as going on online platforms like Learn My Way and things like the IDEA Award, there are lots and lots of other online platforms, but also finding help in other places, getting actual human beings if that's what suits you. I do everything online, but if I'm learning new stuff, I'm one of those people who likes to ask questions. I like a human. So one of the things, let's say the Wave of Change program, which I've mentioned a couple of times, helps unemployed ladies in Stockport identify what their next steps might be. And as part of that program, we always include help with digital skills, because over time we've discovered that digital pops up everywhere. So we try and include that just as a standard thing, even if it's only as an introduction. And some of our ladies really don't need it because they arrived with all the digital skills they could possibly need. But then we've also had other ladies where, because we've been running a lot of our sessions online, we've had to teach them how to get on Zoom because they've never had to do it before. So the Wave of Change program is one place for unemployed ladies to get help, not just with digital skills, but also with your next steps in general. The Village Web Company, aka me, if you're interested in learning how to do things or attending face-to-face workshops or doing things online, or just knowing that there's somebody there who can provide sort of online digital backup, or just somebody who can guide you in the right direction, that's the reason why my business is a social enterprise. So I build websites, I run paid training courses, but I also run digital skills workshops for people. So the Village Web Company is another place. Now, I'm part of something called the Did You Know Alliance, which I think is quite a cool title. And Did You Know is something that's designed for organisations in Stockport who help people do things online. So you've got people like myself at the Village Web Company, you've got people like StartPoint in Woodley, you've got all of the Stockport libraries. There are lots and lots of different organisations who are part of Did You Know? And where you think about, if you want to learn more about digital, but you don't have a device at home, well, actually Stockport has something called the Device Library, where you can actually lend a tablet or a laptop so that you can learn new things or develop your skills. And that's all part of this Stockport-based Did You Know Alliance. And then on a national level, there are things like the Online Centres Network. So online centres, they're all over the country. So a lot of the people who are in Did You Know, a lot of them are also online centres, because some of us are in more than one thing. But if you want to do more online, or if you've got friends or family who'd like to be able to use a computer or a tablet or do other things online to help them with whatever it is that they're trying to do. So it might be studying, it might be socializing, it might be getting information about a medical condition, or it might be, actually, I've got this phone and I don't know what to do with it. There are a lot of people who can help you. There's a lot of people in Stockport, there's a lot of people up and down the country. But for me, everything being online kind of can be helpful, but I'm forever on Twitter whinging about the fact that people are being forced onto the internet without the backup that they need. So if you're interested in developing your digital skills or learning a little bit more, then let us know and we'll help in any way that we can.